But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it.
Okay, what's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Trinidad Empowerment Network. So when I say to you things like we're in for a very long 4 to 5 years, it's because of things like this. Things like this I'm going to talk about today, which is going to affect Trinidad severely. And I speak on this today not just as a concerned Caribbean man, not just as a concerned Trinidadian, but as someone who's been observing the global manipulation of race, economics, and immigration policies for far too long. And if you think this doesn't concern us here in Trinidad, here in the Caribbean, you are completely wrong. You are completely wrong. So let's get straight into this, because what I'm about to share with you perfectly exposes why I keep saying that we as a region must stop blindly aligning ourselves with the West, especially America. Why we must wake up to the global racial power games we keep getting played into. What we see coming from America is, you've seen it for yourself. You've seen it for yourself. I don't need to tell you what it is. You know what it is. And for us to be aligned with that in the Caribbean is... So recently we've seen certain far-right Western media outlets, influencers, and even political figures like, of course, the President of America, Donald Trump, pushing this narrative that white South Africans are being systematically murdered in a so-called genocide. There is no genocide happening in South Africa. There is no genocide happening in South Africa. Let me be absolutely clear. There has never been any credible evidence of this. I don't believe I have to even say this. Nothing from any independent human rights organizations, including the United Nations. Not that I entirely trust these people, but nothing from the United Nations, nothing from Amnesty International, nothing from Human Rights Watch, nothing to back this supremacist president in America's claim of a genocide in South Africa. Are there crimes happening in South Africa? Is the sky grey sometimes? Is water wet? Absolutely. Of course there's crime. There is no genocide. And of course, South Africa has been dealing with poverty and inequality for years. We know about the apartheid era. They've been dealing with the aftershocks of colonialism. I've mentioned apartheid. But this idea of a state-backed racial genocide against whites is a fabricated racist lie, manufactured to trigger the sympathy from the West and justify special immigration treatment for white South Africans. So the US government under Donald Trump, the supremacist, opened its doors to these so-called refugees. Don't know how many of you have seen the videos. It's linked here.
I want you all to know that you are really welcome here.
With cameras rolling, Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau addresses the group of white South Africans who the administration is proposing to classify as refugees. But in his first week in office, President Trump shut America's door to refugees from all around the world, including victims of genocide and war. Now, the president is making an exception for one group of people.
The president made it clear that Afrikaners in South Africa who were the victims of unjust racial discrimination would be welcome to come to the United States, and he's now delivering on that promise.
Afrikaners are a South African ethnic group descended from mostly Dutch settlers, and they dominated South Africa's politics and agriculture for generations. As South Africa continues to address years of apartheid, a new law gives the government there the ability to seize private land without compensation. After Trump got into a public dispute with South Africa's president, he welcomed white landowners to the U.S. The South African government calls the move purely political and says the Afrikaners are not refugees. And the executive director of Homes Not Borders agrees, as she explained today inside Dulles.
Just to show our displeasure with what they're doing right here. So
why?
Because they're not real refugees.
The president directed the Episcopal Church's migration services to help resettle the Afrikaners. And instead, the church announced today that it's ending its migration program. The State Department says the Afrikaners will be resettled across several states, but not in D.C., Maryland, nor Virginia.
Most refugees come on normal airlines. They, IOM sponsors the flight. They go through UNHCR. They haven't gone through any of those means at all. So, this is clearly not following the protocol.
And questions circle of whether the administration is helping people who truly need help or helping people because of the color of their skin.
So these so-called refugees have been allowed into America whilst turning away Haitian migrants, whilst deporting Caribbean nationals, and whilst locking out black and brown refugees from Africa, genuine refugees from Africa, from the likes of the Congo, Latin America. There is a genuine genocide happening in the Congo right now. They're not allowed into America, of course. I wonder why that is. You don't need much of an imagination to work that out. We've seen the payments to Caribbean migrants to return back to the Caribbean. We've seen what's even been happening in places like the UK, where there's now a requirement for Trinidad nationals to come to the UK. A visa requirement for Trinidad nationals to come to the UK and places like Ireland. And when you look at this as a whole, you have to wonder. You have to wonder. So you ask yourself, how is it that white South Africans living in a majority black country that they colonized and benefited from for centuries, a country where they owned a vast majority of the wealth despite having a minimal amount of the population. A minimal amount of the population. The black population in South Africa, I believe, is over 80%, yet the white population owns the vast majority of the wealth. They're the ones that's apparently being genocide in South Africa. Yet, the descendants of those brutalized by colonialism and slavery get no such treatment. They're treated as disposable. This is white supremacy in action. And they try to wrap this into some kind of lie, some kind of humanitarian concerns about white South Africans in This is absolute insanity. And what is our Caribbean government saying about this? Nothing. And the reason they're saying nothing is because we are so tied to America. We cannot afford to upset the man baby that's Donald Trump. So we sit back, we listen to it, we do nothing. We sell our oil, our gas, even our land to them, and we beg for access to their market. They say jump, we say how high. Tell us we are no longer colonized. This is why I keep saying we must stop this now. We must stop this begging. Who are we? We are a proud people. We have natural resources. We are a smart people. We can be self-sufficient. We have oil, we have gas, we have agriculture, we have fisheries, we have renewable energy. We have everything that we need to be self-sufficient in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago. We have the human talent, the history, the regional power. If we choose to unite, instead of dividing ourselves, if we choose to unite, we could dominate the world. Believe that. But instead, we align ourselves with a collapsing empire in America. We need to break free of the chains now. A nation that shows again and again, America I'm referring to, a nation that shows again and again that its loyalty is not to justice, not to equality, and definitely, most definitely not to us in the Caribbean. They could care less about us in the Caribbean. All they want is our natural resources in exchange for pittance. We must do better. So next time you hear about white genocide in South Africa, remember that this is just another distraction in the global game of racial manipulation and resource control. Remember that. We must do better. We must become self-sufficient now. We must break the chain of colonialism now. We must break away from America now. What are your politicians? What are they doing? Are they talking like this? Are they suggesting this? Are you seeing anything like this? Nothing. And while we sit here begging for visas, people are getting deported and we're left fighting for scraps. They are prioritizing their own, even on the back of outright lies. It's racism 101. It's time for us to wake up, to stand up, and to build up our region for ourselves. We can do this. There's no one, not America, not Europe, not anyone is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves, and it's high time we start doing so, and it's high time we start electing people in place that would do so. You've seen Burkina Faso. You've seen Ibrahim Traoré. That's the sort of leadership we need in the Caribbean, and we need it now. This old colonial mindset is not working. These people are not our friends. They're only there because we have something that they need. The minute that thing that they need dries up, they will disappear quicker than you know it. Believe me, we need to become self-sufficient nation. We need to trade amongst ourselves. It will be hard to start. It will be hard to start, but we can do it. Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy. We are going to have to make some sacrifices to start, but we can do it. Let's start now. Thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe to Trinidad Empowerment Network. For now, God bless. Take care. Peace.